Hi, good morning everybody. Welcome to my July garden tour where I have lots of hydrangeas and other beautiful things blooming in the garden. So let's go walk through the garden together. I'm going to start this garden tour by just giving you all a 360 view of the property. We've lived here for almost 4 years. The gardens are about 3 years old. However, they did not start at this scale, so many of the plants were just planted this year or maybe last year. There's some that are 3 years old, but for the most part, things are very new. And even what I started 3 years ago, a lot of that has been transplanted and changed and expanded. Like the hydrangeas that you see, the tree forms, those were just planted this year. The Limelight hydrangeas in the distance, those were planted last year. I've reworked these beds here by the driveway completely, so nothing remains as it was when I first started this. We did build the arbor, I think 3 years ago. Just started lining everything with the stones this year. So much has changed. If you want to see what the property looked like when we first purchased it and what the transition has looked like over these past 4 years, definitely check out my video titled "Look How Far We've Come." You will be amazed. I'm going to start right here by the front porch. This is a John Davis climbing rose, and it is just happening to push some new blooms that the Japanese beetles haven't gotten a hold of yet, thankfully. This rose has been here, I think this might have been its 3rd year, and you should have seen the flush in the spring. It was absolutely covered in blooms. It's so pretty. I've got some Walker's Low catmint lining the beds. I've had to cut them back, so they haven't flushed out yet. They looked way better earlier this year. But I've got some white petunias that have started coming back. The Walker's Low was completely devouring them. My double pink knockout roses are starting to bloom out again. I did have a video about how I want to change these front borders and take out the knockout roses and add some evergreens and just make it a little more formal looking. So if you want to see that video, I'll have that link in the description below. These really large shrubs that you see right here, there's 6 of them. Those are Baptisia. They're a beautiful purple spike type bloom in the spring, and I absolutely love them, but they are perennial, so they die back completely for the winter. I've got some cosmos that have self-seeded. This was one of the first flowers that I put into the garden. I wasn't necessarily going to keep them here in this flower bed. It's more of a cottage type flower, which I want to do more of on the other side of the flower bed. However, the blooms are beautiful and I just couldn't bear to rip them all out. So I've left these. We'll see how long they last. Maybe I'll just keep them this year and then next year make it more formal. But this is my Limelight Hydrangea Standard. I have 4 of them. I just put in this year after I removed some drift roses that I had planted by the driveway. The drift roses were getting powdery mildew, and I just wasn't super happy with how they were performing. And I wanted something with a little more structure and some height, and these beautiful blooms make me really happy this time of year because there's not a whole lot of other things that are blooming, and so the hydrangeas are just gorgeous. Again, these have only been in the ground for a couple of months, so they're doing really well. I've got my Sarah Von Stein lamb's ear lining the driveway. I thought that might be a really good fit because the asphalt puts off so much heat and they don't need a lot of water. They're looking so healthy. I actually removed some drip hose that was watering these every time I turned on the drip, and they did not need it. If you look back at a previous video where I was doing some planting and then adjusting my drip, you can just see how yellow these leaves were. But it's put on so much growth and they're so gorgeous. They're so soft and I just love touching them and seeing the texture. And I love the icy blue color of them. They're just so, so pretty. And I think they're gonna do really well lining the driveway. So if you're trying to come up with something for that purpose, this might be the ticket. Because I did remove those drift roses earlier this year, I've replaced it with a globe arborvitae that's going to get, maybe 3 to 4 foot tall and wide. Hopefully that's not too big for the space. But I filled it in with some annuals this year. I've got some vinca. I just planted out these sun patience. Some of them have blooms, some of them don't. Got some daisies. The Roseanne geranium, it's a hardy geranium. It comes back every year and it's really pretty. It has really pretty blooms and it blooms all season. Only its second year, so I know it's going to get better and better as time goes, but it's really pretty. There's Salami, her little black cat. Here's more of my lamb's ear. I've got another Cosmo that self-seeded and put itself right here. These make great cut flowers too, so I do come out here and cut these to put in arrangements inside, and they're really pretty. I've got some white Gara and some Russian sage. The Russian sage is a little bit floppy. I think it might be getting too much water with the drip, just like the lamb's ear was doing. I tried to move the drip away from it, but I might just have to move the Russian sage altogether. This is going up the other side of the border. Putting the rocks here has completely changed the look of the flower beds. I haven't completely finished this because I do want to expand this bed right here. Once I take out the roses, I'm going to transplant them somewhere because I do really love them. They're so pretty. I love pink. But I need to expand this bed and just put in some more structure. And so if I have some evergreens in the background and then put some things towards the front, I do need the extra space, I think. We'll go around that side of the house later. I'm going to take you to the cottage garden. So this is kind of a replica of what you just saw on the other side of the driveway with the lamb's ear, with the Hydrangea standards, with the globe arborvitaes. This is just a wave petunia, and I've got those planted kind of in a little drift, and then I've got the sun patience in a drift as well. Some of them are blooming, some of them aren't because they haven't been in the ground very long. I've got a butterfly bush that you see right here. And then one of my Limelight hydrangeas. Some of these blooms I need to cut back so I can get some new blooms. But I didn't want to cut them all at the same time and lose all of my blooms. So I'm just doing them here and there so I can get a little bit of a succession, I'm hoping. I've got wisteria growing up this side of the arbor that my husband built me. So when you walk into the cottage garden, I've got a pink double drift rose on each corner here. I just cut back a bunch of the blooms. But I've got white cleome that has self-seeded right here. And I've got some other cleome plants that are coming up, but this is the one that's farthest along. These are really pretty. I have have a little vinca plant that self-seeded from last year. And then I just planted this Bobo hydrangea. So pretty, and I'm excited to see it continue to grow. So I have gladiolas and irises interplanted here together. The gladiolas are done, but I left some of the spent blooms just because it adds a little bit of structure. I've got a pufferfish hydrangea on the other side of the creek bed. That's my chased tree. It's almost out of bloom right now, but all of those blooms are going to turn into little red berries, and they actually have medicinal purposes. I'm not sure exactly how you use it, but I might research that more and see if it's something that I want to harvest and use in the future. I love our creek bed so much, and it actually was put here because we were getting flooded out early on, and we didn't realize that that was going to happen, but we get a lot of water runoff from the top of the hill, and so it just added so much character and charm to the garden, but it actually serves a purpose. And now that we have like the stepping stones and we've lined the flower bed with the rocks as well, it just puts a lot of nice hardscape and ties everything together so nicely, I think. I've got some speedwell that is coming out with its second flush of blooms. The first ones were magnificent. These I think are going to be really pretty too. They're just not fully there yet. I've got a pugster white butterfly bush right here. A bloomables rose on the other side of the driftwood. Now here's a newer path that we just added in. I've got another Bobo hydrangea that I just planted right here beside these spireas. I think I'm gonna need to move one or maybe both of the spireas because they are very close to the path, and we'll see how I want to do that. I had lots of larkspur and foxglove and yarrow and different things lining this pathway that I've had to cut back already, but they were gorgeous when they were in bloom. I scattered lots of foxglove seed after they all went to seed, so hopefully I get lots of blooms. Right here I just planted this sting arborvitae. It's supposed to stay super skinny and be only like 1 to 2 feet wide, but like 10 to 15 tall. So it's gonna be so pretty when it grows. It's tiny right now, maybe only 3 feet tall, but I'm excited to see it grow. I love how I can see the Limelight hydrangea hedge in all different areas of the garden, and it just makes such a pretty backscape. I've got this cleome that has taken, it came from seed as well. Not sure how I got pink this year. Last year it was just white. Might have been one that I sowed that just never grew last year, and it decided to come up this year because I think the seed packet that I sprinkled had multiple colors, but I just only had the one white one come up last year. So I'm happy to have pink too. I've got some really large cosmos. I had to pull out some of my cosmos because they were just strangling the pufferfish hydrangea. One of them had fallen and broke during a storm, but I'm glad to have some space for the pufferfish now. It's new this year and it's super light and airy. It just has really pretty blooms, different from the Bobo hydrangea. The Bobo has a tighter bloom, and this is just very open and airy. It's very, very pretty. You can see just how pretty the blooms were on my chase tree. It was covered in this, and it was just so gorgeous. This Alberta spruce right here, it was starting to die in some of the areas that are gone now, and I decided to give topiary a try and put this into a little spiral. It's gonna fill out a little bit more, but I think it's really cute, and it saved me from having to just get rid of it because it was looking really bad. I did add drip as well. So I think that'll help because it just wasn't getting enough water, which was causing it to die. But now I think it'll be good. So I might go and do that to all of my Alberta spruces that are in pots, just because I think it turned out really cute. I don't have a lot, but I do still have some of my Alaskan daisies blooming. I had to cut the majority of them back, but hopefully they flush back out so I can have more this fall. I think that would be really pretty. This is the first year they've bloomed, so not sure how they'll do. I've got another sting arborvitae right here. So I've got them flanking both sides of the vegetable garden entrance, and hopefully that ends up being a really, really pretty structure for the garden. As things mature, this is just going to get prettier and prettier. But I've got some speedwell that I need to cut back. They're getting really close to being done blooming, but the pollinators absolutely love it. So I'm trying to leave it alone. Look at that little guy. I'm not sure what he is, but he is cool. Isn't that pretty thing? So I've planted lots of white vinca along the border here. I picked them up on clearance and thought that they'd be a perfect addition to just add a little more to the garden. So glad that I did that because it is so pretty. I've got some lemon coral sedum that is just such a great pop from a distance. I see these flower beds from our living room and dining area, and so I really love having all of the white and the lemon color, the lime color, because you can just see it so well from a distance and then also at night, and it's just really pretty. And I love being able to enjoy my gardens from inside. This is another one of my Pugster white butterfly bushes. It's doing better here than the other one is, I think. But it's so pretty. I've got some phlox back here. These are the opening act polka dot phlox, I think is what they're called. Now these Shasta daisies just yesterday were covered in little butterflies. Completely covered in butterflies. It was the coolest thing. I couldn't even begin to count how many were on it. Look, one just landed right now. I love my pink chiffon Rose of Sharon. Warning though, the Japanese beetles love Rose of Sharons apparently. I've been struggling with those on the plant, but it's supposed to get quite massive, so maybe the damage won't be too extreme. Now we're here to the new bed that we just put in a couple months ago. I'm not sure what this is called, but it's really pretty. It's something that my mother-in-law gave me. Last year we had way more blooms, but from transplanting it, it just didn't do quite as well. This little rose was a transplant and it's getting lots of blooms on it. The Japanese beetles don't eat them all first, but the color is just so pretty. It's such a silvery purple pink. Got a spilled wine weigela, and then a golden arborvitae, a blue cypress of some sort. I can't remember what it's called. I'll have to see if I can look it up. Now I planted these heucheras in the heat because they were clearance and I thought they would do better once I got them in the ground. They're not. They're dying and I don't really know what to do. I don't want to lose them. This is full sun. It said they could take full sun, but I'm tempted to dig them up and put them in a shade garden, but my goodness, the shock of that might just do them in completely, so we'll see how that goes. This is a little hottie I just planted this year. A lot of the blooms are turning brown because of the heat. I should just cut them all back so the plant can have time to really get its roots in the ground. It did just push this new bloom, so that's really pretty. These are the drift roses that I transplanted from the driveway area, and I like them so much better out here because I can see them from a far distance. If there ends up being any kind of powdery mildew or anything, I won't be able to see it from far away. It's not something that everyone gets close up on, being right at our driveway and at our walking path to the house. So hopefully they won't even get the powdery mildew here, but I like them in this bed. These are the balloon flowers that I planted in the heat along with the heuchera and some other things. They're doing okay. They have no blooms. I need to cut them back. They're still alive. I don't see signs of them dying, but the blooms are all gone, and that's okay because they're perennial and they'll come back and be gorgeous next year. If y'all are wondering what's going on with all of these tomatoes in my flower bed, my husband planted all of these along our fence line before I ever put in the flower beds. The mulch is from where we mulched around the tomatoes. That is just a natural, no dye kind of mulch. And then we came back in with the flower bed and left the tomatoes this year. Next year they will not be growing in the flower bed. But there's so many and they're already so big, we went ahead and left them. And so that's what's going on with that situation, but I don't mind. I got a new flower bed and I'm happy to have it. I've got 3 incredible hydrangeas, one right here, and then another one between those roses and another one between those roses. So I'll end up having the little hotties flanking both sides of 3 incredible hydrangeas. They're teeny tiny right now. Now this is a horror story right here. These were the dianthus I planted at the same time as the heucheras and the balloon flowers, and I've lost all of them but one. I mean, they were in really bad shape when I put them in the ground, which is why I went ahead and just did it, because I'm like, they're not going to survive in these pots. That's all I have left. The rest of them have just withered, and it's a sad story, but it happens. Another one of my drift roses. And these were just transplanted and cut way back a month or so ago, so they're doing really good for having gone through all of that. I've got some Coreopsis that I divided and put right here in the flower bed. And then my other little hottie that's not looking so hottie, but it will next year. It's gonna be gorgeous. It's its first year. It was only a gallon pot. It's been almost 100 degrees, so I'm okay with it. My husband just installed this new gate to get over to the goats and the chickens. And so by doing that, he's going to put a new fence panel right here, but I need to come back in and mulch over all of this to add it to the flower bed, because he just kind of changed the direction of the fencing. Now, this is something I just planted like a month ago, if that, a couple weeks ago. It's a common snowball viburnum, huge white snowball type blooms in the early spring. So I can't wait to see if it gives me any blooms next spring. It's one of the earliest things to bloom. It's gonna get about 12 foot tall, 12 foot wide. It's gonna be gorgeous on the other side of this gate. And this is how things look from over here. There's Bambi, my goat, looking at me, saying hello. This is the shade flower bed, and my husband's cleared out all of this land in the tree line, and I will hope to eventually one day take over and just have hydrangeas lining that whole area and just be a gorgeous little woodland wonderland garden. I think it would be so pretty. So that's for another day. This little flower bed has been in progress for the last couple of years. There wasn't much going on other than the bigger hydrangea you see and a couple of these smaller ones I got on super duper clearance, like $1 or $2 a piece, like maybe 3 years ago. They're finally really getting established. These ones in the front haven't gotten blooms yet. I do believe it's just an old variety hydrangea, but it's finally getting some blooms, and I'm excited to see how those turn out. And I've got some astilbe I've planted in here. I've just divided out a bunch of hostas. You can see where I've got some ratty-tatty leaves on the outer edges, but it's pushing a lot of new growth. I love the lime green color. I need to come in here and tidy it up, but I love the lime green. I think my chickens are trampling all over these hostas. Hopefully they survive this year and they get bigger and better next year to where they can't cause so much havoc. But you can see where we need to redo some fencing here where the goats have kind of destroyed it, and that's where I think some of the chickens are still getting out. I expanded and reworked this bed some because of the chickens, and they're still getting out, so we got to work on that. I've got some foxglove that is almost done blooming right here. I've got an oak leaf hydrangea. This is the expansion that we put in just like a month ago when the chickens really wreaked some havoc on my bed. I found these brunneras on clearance for $1 a piece. So I've got 3 on this side and then 3 on this side of my little path. You think it's fall. I've got tons of brown leaves all over the ground. It's not, it's just heat. It's just the heat is just doing some work on our trees. Oh, one of my tags has fallen off. This is a Popstar hydrangea by Endless Summer. It's a lace cap. It's got lots of new blooms coming on it. I got it on clearance. It's going to be really pretty when it blooms out. This is the Summer Crush hydrangea. I have 2 of these in front of my house on the porch, or right in front of the porch. And then this is the Bloomstruck. It gets about 4 foot tall, so it'll be really pretty backdrop behind this bench. And then this hosta gets pretty tall. And then I've got another viburnum back here. It's like an Asian type viburnum. It's not bloomed yet, it was bare root. So we'll see how it does next year. The sun is really starting to pop, so hopefully this video turns out okay. But these are my containers by the garage. They're looking so pretty. The potato vine just takes over, but I love it. I've got 2 of the Petunia Bordeaux's right here. And then I put just 1 bubble gum in the back because I know that they can take over and just be really aggressive, and they don't get quite as much sun because they're on the back side. And they're doing exactly what I hoped they would do. They're not taking over, they're still adding the color. I popped in these little yellow petunias as well just recently, just to add a tiny bit more color. But man, they're filling out so pretty. I love it. This is the last one right here. I don't have these on drip. I just have to be super faithful with watering them. I do want to get them on drip. That's on my to-do list. It just hasn't happened yet, but hopefully I'll get to that really soon. So we pan over from those containers over here to the flower bed. I just put in this little lime hydrangea. It's doing great right here. It gets the perfect amount of sun. Then we've got our greenhouse over here. That's just looking so pretty and perfect where it's at. I just love this view, and I can't wait to get the courtyard all designed and planted up the way I want it to be. But right now it's just so pretty just the way it is, and I love it. This bed needs some work, but I did plant 3 little haughty hydrangeas in it this year. Got some creeping phlox in the front. I've got 3 climbing roses that are growing up the house. They are putting on tons of new growth, so I need to come in and pin all of these new vines back. But they're looking really healthy. Got some cosmos. This is the Rise Up Lilac Rose. The Japanese beetles are loving it too much, but there's one of the blooms before it gets eaten. So sad. This little guy decided to visit. I must smell like flowers. So we're gonna enter into the courtyard. I'm still doing a lot of work. I want to put in some formal garden plants and maybe some raised beds, maybe a fountain. I've got the tater tot arborvitaes right here. I'm going to plant. I need to get 3 more for over here. I just put in the hydrangeas on each side. I just picked up this hydrangea standard tree on clearance just about a week ago. I haven't put it in the ground yet. I might put it in a pot, but I think I like it right here. I think it'll be really pretty. This one is the Sweet Summer Hydrangea. It is a paniculata. I got it for like 43 bucks, 50% off, which I think is a great deal. The blooms are very pretty. They're airy. They're kind of like a puffer fish, I would say, with the airy blooms, but it's really pretty. I've got sting arborvitaes I'm going to put on each side of the greenhouse as well to add some structure. I think that's going to be really pretty. This is one of my window boxes. I do have this on drip. This flower box is doing really good. I've got the bubblegum petunias in here, a couple of the potato vines. The potato vines have not taken off like they have in my containers for some reason, but the petunias are doing fabulous. This one is lagging. It got a lot of really bad fungus mushrooms in there at the soil and was just kind of killing things out. It's still not looking fantastic, but it's holding on, so I'm hoping it'll continue to produce and not completely die out on me. This is my strawberry sundae hydrangea that has finally got some blooms on it. They're quite large as well. This is really pretty. It's got a red stem, which is unique from my other hydrangeas. I think it's really beautiful. I might end up transplanting this one out to a different part of the garden just so I can keep a little more symmetry with the other hydrangeas and the sting arborvitaes. I have this one right behind the hose I need to put in the ground. But my husband just installed this stone wall this year. It was just a wall of clay. If you haven't seen that video that I referenced earlier on about just how far we've come in these past 4 years, you can see how nasty the clay wall was. We tried to plant some grass here. It was doing really good, and then the heat took it. I think we need to add some more topsoil and then try again. My husband installed these stone steps leading up to the top of the hill. We still need a few more to make it all the way up, but we want to landscape up here on this hillside. But for now, there's only a tiny bit of clay left, and we're gonna take care of that hopefully soon. We've planted these emerald green arborvitaes to hide the gas tank. Super recent installation of this little flower bed right here with the blanket flowers and the pink Picotee Gara and some Scabiosa. But this will be really pretty as it grows. This was all clearance plants and has just made this little spot really pretty. This will all be really nice, but all a work in progress. Now this side of the house is our north facing side. I have some Walker Slow catmint. I've got some David Austin roses. This is the Generous Gardener. It's only its 2nd year. It's putting on quite a bit of new growth. It does have a really pretty bloom when it is blooming. But that is a climbing rose, and it'll just get better and better with time. I've got a couple of hostas. I've got a Gertrude Jekyll climbing rose that is climbing up to the sky. I need to pin this one back. It's taller than the roof line. I'm gonna have it arch across the roof line a little bit. That's gonna be really pretty. Got a couple of boxwoods lining the pathway, some more Brunnera. These are 2 years old, or at least these two are. These are 2 years old, and they're much bigger than the ones I planted in the shade garden last year, or sorry, this year. And so I'm excited to see my other ones get this big. Got 4 of these lace cap pop star hydrangeas lining this bed, along with some Olivia Austin roses. I think this is lamium right here. I can't remember what these are called, but they have really pretty purple and pink blooms in the spring. Really, really nice. I have to look up the name of those. Another one of my pop stars. It's getting really tall, like a few of the limbs are. These are quite short, like maybe only 12 inches. The ones up here are probably 2.5 foot tall, and they're so healthy. These are going to look great next year, I have a feeling. Scepter d'Isle David Austin rose. That's a pretty little rose. Can't believe that bloom hasn't been eaten. So when we get around the corner here, I've got 3 of the bloomstruck. That one is looking really healthy and good. I'm so happy with that. That one is looking really sad. And that one is looking like it's trying really hard. So I don't know what the difference is when they're so close together, but I wish they all looked like that. So this is from my porch. Those are the knockout roses. And then you see out at the hydrangea hedge. Let's head out there next. This is my Limelight hydrangea hedge. I can't believe this is only year 2, and they're gonna be even bigger next year, which I can't even imagine. They are probably going on 6 feet tall, and there's 10 of them. I would say as big as my head or bigger. Now this side of the hedge is going to be such a pretty walk one day. I've got the arborvitaes on the right hand side, green giant I believe, and then I've got this row of Limelight hydrangeas. We planted them out to where they should touch one day, but if it leaves just enough of a path to be able to stroll through here, I will be so happy because I just love it on this backside. So pretty. One day down the road, I plan on putting a bunch of hydrangeas down in this area, but they'll be more of the mop head and smooth hydrangeas type because it doesn't get much sun. But the possibilities with this house. So excited about all the things that I get to do. Well, this sums up my July garden tour. Thank you so much for joining me, you guys. If you want to see the befores and afters of the 4-year progress of the property that we're living in now and the house transformation, make sure that you follow the link in the description below so you can see that video. It's quite the transformation. Then also, I've got other garden tours from previous months and then some chores and different things that I do in the garden. I hope you like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Happy gardening.